All right, ready to dive deep. We're tackling Wim Hof today, the Iceman.
Sounds chilly.
He makes some pretty bold claims about what our bodies can handle, the cold, this breathing method, the whole thing. People are fascinated, and we're going to unpack it all.
Sign me up. Let's get chilly.
We've got interviews with Wim himself, dug into his official method on his site, even got some scientific studies to see if the claims hold water, so to speak.
Okay, so not just hype. We're going for evidence.
I like it.
Exactly. Is this legit or is it just, well, hot air? Gotta find out.
Let's get into it.
What gets me first is Wim's own story. Born a twin, but his entry into the world, tough, to say the least.
It makes you wonder, huh? That early stuff, how it shapes how you see every challenge after.
Right. And then his mom, while she's in labor, there's this whole prayer about him being a missionary, like destined for something big, even back then.
Wow. That kind of thing gets in deep, shapes your path even if you don't realize it. So this kid, purpose-driven, sees the world, the wars, pollution, all that, and by 12 years old, he's decided, nope, gotta change things already.
That's not your average kid. And that's where the Wim Hof method comes in, right? 3 pillars: breathing, cold, and commitment.
Okay, so more than just a polar bear plunge now and then, though he's famous for that.
Oh, way more systematic.
Yeah.
It's deliberate, pushing past what we think we're limited to.
First up, breathing. We all do it constantly, never think twice. So what's Wim's deal different?
He says it's like unlocking something deeper, a reserve of strength, resilience we didn't even know was there.
So not just your average inhale, exhale, right?
Nope. Controlled hyperventilation, then holding your breath, changes your physiology big time, oxygen, CO2 levels, all that.
Like that boost before a big presentation, but times 10.
Exactly. Respiratory system reset, but the benefits, they go way beyond just, well, breathing.
Now that's interesting. One thing that really struck me was this connection he makes between this deep breathing and dealing with trauma. How does that even work?
That's what researchers are trying to figure out, but trauma, it's not all in your head. It gets into your cells, changes how you think, feel, your whole body.
It's like our bodies hold on to that trauma.
Right.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is that doing this kind of breath work, it might be like hitting reset, changing our physiology so we can let go of that tension.
Creating space for healing and moving past those limitations.
That's the idea.
That's powerful stuff, and it really broadens the scope of what we're talking about here. This isn't just about physical resilience, it's mental, emotional well-being, too. That's got to be huge for anyone dealing with anxiety or even just everyday stress.
Huge. And that's just pillar 1. Next up, things get a little colder?
Bring on the cold! What I love is how Wim calls it a merciless teacher. So powerful.
Right. We're wired to avoid discomfort, but what if leaning into it actually made us stronger?
He walks the walk, though. Multiple world records for swimming under ice.
And he's always saying anything he asks of us, he's pushed himself further.
That's true. And it's not just about records. There are real benefits to cold exposure.
Oh, absolutely. Like cold shock proteins. Cold temperatures activate them, and they actually protect your cells from damage.
So it's like giving your body a cellular defense system against stress, physical and mental.
Exactly. And then there's brown fat. It burns calories to create heat.
Wait, so you get more resilient to the cold, A&D boost your metabolism? This is starting to sound less crazy, more like a superpower.
And that's the thing. It's not about becoming superhuman overnight. It's gradual. You find what works for you.
Baby steps, cold shower, then maybe a dip in a lake.
Exactly. You'd be surprised how adaptable your body is. Plus, there's something really empowering about pushing past that initial, oh crap, it's cold feeling, you know?
You're preaching to the choir. I think we all have those moments where we want to shy away from a challenge, stay comfy. What I find relatable about Wim's message is that it's all about leaning into that discomfort, realizing we're capable of way more than we think. Like that story about him working with Patrice Evra, the footballer, hated the cold.
Hated it. But with Wim, withstanding crazy low temperatures.
See, it's not some special gene. It's training mind and body to respond differently.
Like Wim says, the cold is a teacher. And we face challenges in life. It's how we meet them that matters.
Let them control us or find that inner strength. Okay, bring on that third pillar. Commitment.
This is where the rubber meets the road, right? It's not a quick fix, it's a practice.
I can get behind that. Showing up, putting in the work, even when it's tough, choosing to take control.
Yes. And that's what unlocks the real power. Building that relationship, learning to listen to your body, trusting it to heal and adapt.
Showing up for yourself even when it's hard, which, let's be real, can be a radical act these days.
You're telling me. It's so easy to get disconnected from what our bodies are telling
Which
us.
makes his commitment to self-care, self-discovery crucial.
It's about taking back that power, that agency. And the best part is, you don't need anything fancy. It's making that choice, prioritizing your well-being, carving out that time.
This is all incredible, but I'm hearing some listeners out there thinking, okay, but where's the proof?
It's a fair question. It's one thing to talk about stories and philosophies, but we need evidence.
So is there more than just anecdotal evidence?
There is. Thankfully, there's some compelling research into the Wim Hof method.
Let's dive into the science. What are the researchers finding?
One that really got people talking, a 2014 study out of Wayne State University.
Okay, so a few years before the Wim Hof method really blew up.
Right. They were looking at his ability to, get this, consciously control his autonomic nervous system.
The part that's like autopilot for your body, right? Heart rate, breathing, all that.
Exactly. Specifically, how he reacted to cold compared to regular folks. They had this whole bodysuit, could pump cold or warm water through it. Really precise control.
So they hooked Wim up, started blasting the cold.
And the control group, their skin temperature did what you'd expect, went up and down with the water. But Wim, using his breathing, the meditation, kept his core temp steady, even when the water was crazy cold.
No way. Shouldn't your body just freak out, shivering, all that?
You'd think.
Yeah.
But he was overriding it, consciously.
Mind over matter, next level. What was his brain doing during all this?
They used a PT scan. And get this, his intercostal muscles, the ones between your ribs, were working overtime, burning glucose, generating heat. He turned himself into a furnace.
Okay, staying warm, but mentally, how's the brain handling that extreme cold?
That's the wild part. No usual stress signals. Instead is breathing, activating the sympathetic nervous system. Fight or flight, but controlled.
So he's triggering that primal response, but instead of panicking, it's keeping him warm.
Exactly. And get this, this activation led to cannabinoids and opioids being released.
Hold on, he's consciously releasing the feel-good chemicals that are usually only during intense exercise or...
Or pain, stress, trauma even. He's doing it with his mind.
That's huge. Like he found the cheat code to our body's natural pharmacy or something.
And it's not just about feeling good, though I'm sure that's a bonus. Think chronic pain, anxiety, depression, all things we might be able to manage if we learn to regulate our own systems.
My mind is blown. That's one study, but there's more, right? There's that one where he...
Yes. The E. coli study. Now that one got people's attention. 2010, researchers in the Netherlands, they injected Wim with a bacterial toxin.
A bacterial toxin. Okay, I'm already feeling a bit queasy.
It was a dead strain of E. coli, specifically because it makes healthy people sick, like they've got the flu.
So they basically gave him the flu for science.
For science. But here's the thing. Barely any reaction. Slight headache, that's it.
Hold up. They injected him with something that should have knocked him out for days, and he barely blinked.
That's the potential right there. And it wasn't just how he felt. His blood work showed his body was doing the expected stuff, releasing cortisol, adrenaline, but also this powerful anti-inflammatory IL-10.
So his body was fighting off the inflammation before it could even start.
Exactly. But they had to be sure, right? So they got a group of volunteers.
Let me guess. Found a bunch of people down to get E. coli for science.
Not E. coli this time, different toxin. But same idea, messes with your immune system. Half were the control group, the other half. Intensive Wim Hof method training.
Crash course. Breathing, cold, all of it.
All of it. Then, the injection, the Wim Hof group. Way fewer symptoms, recovered faster, and their blood work. Just like Wim's.
It's like he gave them a superpower just by teaching them to tap into something already inside them.
And that was huge. Because before that, voluntarily influencing your autonomic nervous system, your immune response. Impossible, people thought.
I'm starting to see why people thought he was a bit out there. The science, though, it's backing him up. Makes you rethink what we're capable of. So we've got these incredible physiological changes. But there's one more piece, right? The power of the mind.
This is where things get really fascinating. It's about recognizing how powerful our minds are, how much influence they have over our bodies.
Which feels especially relevant now, you know? Stress, information overload, it's constant.
Absolutely. And studies are already showing practices like mindfulness, meditation, they're great for us, mentally, emotionally. So researchers wanted to compare them, see how the Wim Hof method measured up.
Going up against the all-stars of the mindfulness world.
And, yeah, it held its own. People using the Wim Hof method, they were more resilient to stress, less stressed out overall, and their cognitive awareness was even better.
So calmer and sharper all at the same time.
It's like we're waking up to this whole other dimension of being human, something we always had, but maybe thought was impossible.
Like we've been running on a fraction of our potential this whole time, and the Wim Hof method is showing us how to access the rest.
And the best part, no magic pill.
Oh.
Just conscious breath, cold exposure, and that willingness to push past our limits, the ones we put on ourselves, really.
Taking responsibility for our own well-being, our potential.
Exactly. We've got more power than we think, and then we got to act on it.
Mm.
Speaking of which,
Wait a minute, are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting? Because
yeah,
I have a feeling we might have a date with some ice. An ice bath date. I think you might be right.
I'm game if you are.
Let's do it. Full disclosure, not exactly a fan of the cold, so you're going to have to walk me through this.
Of course. Slow and steady will listen to your body the whole way.
Okay, so we've got these 2 ice baths all ready to go. Is there, like, a magic temperature they should be?
They're perfect. Nice and cold, the temperature matters, but honestly, it's more about the mental game. Before we jump in, let's try something. 1-minute horse stance. Ready?
A horse stance. My legs are not prepared for this. What's the thinking behind that?
Connecting with your body, finding that inner strength.
Mm.
Trust me, your voice, your breath, those are the tools you need here.
All right, you've convinced me. Let's do it.
Great. Now really command your body to feel strong, that energy flowing within you. Let's declare it. We bring happiness, strength, and health to the whole wide world.
Yes. I love it.
All right, let's get in. Remember, breathe long and slow. We're in this together.
Whoa, that is cold.
Stay with your breath. We are friends. Let your body do what it's meant to do. It's taking over, adapting from the inside out. Your hormones, your immune system, even your emotions are coming under your control. The deepest part of your brain is waking up, and you're connecting to it, commanding it. This is the power we're talking about.
This is amazing. It's actually not that bad.
You see, you were nervous about the cold, and now the cold is your buddy. This feeling, this happiness, strength, you can't buy it, you earn it, facing it head on.
I did it.
Yes, you did it. I love it.
This is making me wonder, what time of day do you usually do this?
In the morning. Sometimes I'll stay in a while. On my 60th birthday, I stayed in for 60 minutes, then 61 on my 61st, and so on.
Wow, that's commitment.
You don't have to go that extreme, even a few minutes. You get the benefits. The point is, you're tapping into something, this power inside.
I already feel more energized, more alive.
It's incredible, right? Those first 20 seconds are always the toughest. You got to fight those instincts, those voices saying, get out, give up.
I felt that like hitting a wall, but then I got through it and my body was like, oh, wait a minute, I've got this.
That's it. And that's the lesson here. So many of the limits we have, we put them there ourselves. We build these mental walls, believe they're real, then we push through, and they crumble away.
This has been eye-opening. Thank you for being my guide.
My pleasure. And remember, this is just the start. The Wim Hof method, it's a journey. Keep exploring, keep pushing those boundaries, and you'll be amazed at what you find.
There you have it. The Wim Hof method, more than just ice baths, more than breathing. It's a philosophy, a way of life. And it shows us just how powerful our minds and bodies really are. Wim talks about reconnecting with our ancient selves, that ability to thrive even when things get tough. What in your own life might you see differently? What limits could you shatter if you really believed in that power within you? We want to hear your thoughts. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and stay curious.